All right, we ready? And grab your bag and go. That's it. Move, move. Go, 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 go. One, Armani suits and run.
Manager to cash register.
All
Manager to
right.
cash register.
All right. Week 7, Armani suits and run. Vibes are high. The vibes are high. Another 4 in 1 week, back-to-back 4 in 1 weeks. We improved to 18 and 12 overall. I think without a doubt, this is the best position we have ever been in this early in the season. Um, and it feels good. It feels really good. It's nice for once to not be in a position where, we feel like we're already having to make up a huge debt. Um, and instead, kind of playing from the front, which is great. Just keep sticking to the plan. But this has been a great start and a hot couple weeks. We are definitely riding high off the vibes of Kiernan's wedding. So we gotta keep that rolling, boys.
Power
Um,
of love. It's all about the power of love. You can do a
that's
lot.
right. That's right.
Do a lot.
Positive vibes only, right? Let's just recap the week 6 games real quick. 40, a back-to-back winner, as the international correspondent. Went with the Jets +7 against the Broncos. Just all-time ugly game. Um, Incredible that with like what 80 yards of total offense for the Jets. Um, Not only did they keep it within the number, I mean they had like a legitimate chance to win that football game. Which was just insane. Says a lot about how the Broncos played as well. But I think we said it like we would have felt we actually probably, even though being on the Jets +7 felt really, really gross, probably would have felt worse if we were on the other side of it. And that read was correct. So great to see 40. He's rolling and he'll be back with us in a little bit. So looking forward to that pick. Um, I hit on the Patriots -3.5. Another great performance from the Pats. And with the Bills loss now, they actually hold the lead in the AFC East, which is awesome. I give credit to the Saints. Like I never really felt like with that pick comfortable at any point in that game. Like kind of felt like the Saints were hanging in there, and kind of staying close to the number, but Pat's got it done. I think won by 9, which was great. Bowen, you were on the Seahawks, pick 'em. Great hit there. Another win for you. You improved to 4-2. Any thoughts on your game?
No, I mean, I think it was just a solid read. I mean, it was a competitive game. Jags are a pretty good team. Seahawks are a well-coached team. They have a lot of things going right for them. Like we had kind of touched on, Darnold to JSN showed out again. And they play good defense. So it's kind of what we expected. And just glad that it was, came out on our side. So,
Seahawks scored 20 straight points in that game.
yeah.
Down 6-0 early.
Yep.
Uh, Brian Thomas Jr., which great hit for us. Shout out Benny Fazio. Um, got them out to an early 6-0 lead, and then yeah, Seattle ripped off 20, and then Jags got a touchdown in the fourth, but nice hitting the number. And then Kieran, you were on the 49ers +3, which was our one loss for the week. Um, we were in that game though. Like, I mean, I felt like we were in that thing. Couple turnovers from Mac, but any thoughts from you on that?
Yeah, I mean, it was one of those where we did have our chances to kind of take it back and at least cover the spread, but it always felt like we were scratching and clawing. So even if
Yeah.
they did end up covering, it would have felt like it was a miracle at the end. Um, it felt sort of like a natural ending to the Mac Jones time.
Hmm.
With San Francisco, at least as the starter, it kind of sounds like, I don't know if it's been made official yet, but it was starting to sound like he might be due for another start this week. So
Yeah.
that could be a little bit awkward, but that is a game that we could be talking about a little bit later. Um, I will say, I mean, it's one of those things where I want to. maybe propose a truce to Baker Mayfield. I think I tip my cap to thee.
Yeah.
I did say, and I do mean it, when I made the pick, it was made with, just purely based on the stats. But,
Yeah.
I try to, as part of my own self-discipline for gambling, I try to leave emotion out of it as much as I can, because for me,
Yeah.
that's a very slippery slope, right?
Oh yeah.
I like a lot of guys. So I can talk myself into a lot of
Pause.
guys. I can talk myself into a narrative. When I do that, it really opens the door, and that's where I start to kind of skid when it comes to making some of my bets. So I really try to stick to the numbers, right? I try not to, look at revenge games or anything, this and that, anything. But as I was talking through the pick, that's when I started to shit on Baker a bit. And maybe that's when I should have, and maybe it was a hand off the chess piece moment, and I couldn't reverse my pick anyways. But maybe that would have been a time for me to step off the ball, self-reflect, and say, you know what, maybe I am getting a little too emotional with this pick. So, I talked my shit. Baker shoved it in my face. I think I maybe came to the realization that might have been projecting a bit.
Hmm.
Talking about people that did you wrong years ago when you're way past it, you found your own success beyond it. That's what I do. So I think that maybe I was looking at the man in the mirror a little bit, and I didn't like what I saw, and I was taking out some of my frustrations on Baker Mayfield. So, I'm not saying that I'm going to start riding with him every week, but it's like I talked my shit. He punched me in the face. He beat my ass. I have no choice but to stand up, shake his hand, and tip my cap. So I do extend the olive branch out to Baker Mayfield. But yeah, I mean, it was just a pick where, if anything, like I said, if I did reverse it, second on my list was the Packers as massive favorites, anyways. So
Yeah.
I was doomed for a loss last week, no matter what.
Yeah.
The
But
uh the 3rd and 14 run by Baker. I think the number was like it's maybe a 4 point lead for the Bucks, and it was a 3rd and 14. They were gonna give the ball back to the Niners in like the fourth quarter, and Baker ripping off that run that was like, I mean, incredible, improbable for him to do that. We kind of, at least I was sitting in my living room, kind of like, oh boy, there kind of goes the
yeah,
chance to really have a shot to turn the numbers around because the numbers were a little iffy going into the late game there for
I
the
know
three
it's
and a half or three.
I know it's early, but that might have been his Heisman moment.
Yeah, yeah, it
That
was
was
sick.
a hell of a play. I did think it
Usually
was
a good time to peak is week 6 when it comes to the
yeah.
MVP conversation.
I did think it was hilarious. What's the guy's name? Like Tez Johnson.
Yeah.
Did you see the clip?
Yeah, he thought the MVP
He
chance
thought
was for him.
yeah, he's like, I haven't done anything this year. Why are they yelling MVP? They were like, it's for Baker, bro. It was pretty funny. Yeah, it is getting interesting though with Baker. I mean, just the number of injuries, and just the guys that he's, now making things happen with. Emeka's out this week. Sounds like he's going to be out for a few weeks. It doesn't sound like Godwin's returning anytime soon. I don't know what the status is with Mike Evans. Bucky Irving's still out. Um,
I believe
but
Evans is good.
is Evans good? Is he back?
He's like
I
he's
mean, he was
practicing
at
in
practice. I saw a clip that he
limited.
went
Yeah.
out there with his pads on, and it was a
Yeah.
no pads practice. So
Oh, all right.
I think he's ready to go.
Yeah, all right, that's good. But yeah, it's gonna be interesting to see how things continue. And obviously we're gonna have the Man Campbell game on the wheel. We'll see what happens there. But it's gonna be another huge moment for Baker this week. Playing on the road in Detroit. It's gonna be a great test. And obviously with Detroit, it's a huge bounce back. So that's you couldn't ask for a better game. Um, all right, and then rounded out the week, Sister Jean. Sister Jean. I
Say
mean,
her name.
what a moment that was live during the recording last week, and then to actually see us be able to follow through and honor Sister Jean with a W on Monday night was just absolutely tremendous. Absolutely tremendous. Great performance from the Bears, plus 4.5 to not only pick up the cover, but win that game outright.
That fumble there at the end of the game by Jaden, or that handoff.
Yeah.
I mean that was Gene. That was Gene coming down with
Oh,
her frail old hand, slapping the ball out uh,
absolutely. She
from
came
the
off
heavens.
the
Yeah,
came off the edge in that wheelchair, and she forced that fumble. So um That was awesome. But no, Bears look good. That was a combination of Bears look good, Commanders didn't look great. It's great to see DeAndre Swift making things happen, making some big plays. Busted one. He had what, like a 58 yard touchdown reception. Had to uh had to make a move on the sideline too to open himself up, but that was great. So great 4 in 1 week, 18 and 12. Let's keep it rolling.
Oh yeah.
Let's get into week 7.
Yeah. Well, I guess we're starting with 40, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. All right. Well, let's what's the London game?
Jags Rams.
Jags Rams.
And the
Three.
Uh
Rams are 3-point favorites.
Yep.
Rams 3-point favorites. All right, well let's kick it to the foreign correspondent. 40, what do you got?
Zach, you want to give it?
Oh fuck, sorry. Um it's Jags +3.
I oh, give me the Jags with the points. London's team, baby. Where's the frickin' gabagool?
All right, there's the pick. Jags +3 against the Rams in London. What do you guys think, Bowen? What do you got on the pick?
Uh I like to pick. Rams coming off a weird game. They I mean they won, but it was a game where they lost Puka. Seems like he's going to be out this week. I don't think he's practicing, and they have a bye week following this London trip. So most likely precautionary, they're going to have like their guy out. So I like the Jags. In a general sense, going to London, that's kind of their second home. They're familiar with it. I do think it's kind of like an every week thing now, but the Liam Cohen had a press conference, I believe yesterday, saying that they're going to make Travis Hunter the first read more often in the offense, and Trevor Lawrence is a first read merchant. He just kind of that's first read he goes. So I expect a big game out of Travis Hunter. I expect a touchdown out of Travis Hunter. And I think this offense is going to be able to move the ball against the Rams defense that has had their moments this year where they've looked beatable. So think the Jags can hang a big enough number to clear it outright and win the game.
Kieran, what do you think?
Yeah, I don't know. I'm kind of glad that we didn't have to worry about this game at all. I don't really have much of a read on it. It's just, I mean, it's tough with Puka out, right? I mean,
Yeah.
I do think, Jordan Whittington, that's a guy that I've been a fan of, but he is sort of like the natural backup to Puka, like in terms of the depth chart. So I think he's a guy that can step in, but of course, he's good and he's played really well. I think he's had like 3 games without Puka, and he's had like 60 yards, 80 yards. So he's actually played really well when he stepped in for it. McVay, I saw he's outscored his opponents 57-10 when playing outside of the USA. But both of those games were with Jared Goff as the starter. So,
Mhm.
as far as Stafford, he doesn't really done much. He has like 1 game outside of the U.S. The Jags, they're actually kind of underwhelming, despite how much they play over there. They're like just above 500. So, to me, I think it does just feel like a 3-point spread game. I could see it really going either way. I think it'll probably be pretty tightly contested, even with Puka out. But
Yeah.
yeah, I don't really. I'm kind of on the fence with this one. I could be swayed either way.
Yeah, I think I'm probably in the same position. I mean, I guess if anything, like, the Puka thing maybe makes me lean Jags. I think too, like just the way the NFL works, I mean, it's so week to week. And I mean, even just like looking at the Rams performance, I mean, even though they won 17-3 over the Ravens, like really, really ugly, ugly. Derrick Henry ran the ball really, really well against them. Etienne's run the ball pretty well this year. He's obviously looked a lot more explosive, so seems like a good opportunity. Maybe for the Jags to establish the run game again. Like the note from you, Bowen, about first look to Travis Hunter, get him going. So maybe seems like a bit of a good like bounce back spot for the Jags and the Rams coming off maybe a bit of a misleading 17-3 win over the Ravens. Um, I kind of like getting the points here in the spot, but I didn't really feel strongly, one way or the other coming in. So, I ride with 40.
Something
Yep.
that I think will be interesting is Liam Cohen. He was for a year the OC under Sean McVay, so
Oh,
there could be maybe a little bit of like a, father thing, but we've kind of seen, in the NFC West, right? Whether it was McVay versus Shanahan or McVay versus Cliff Kingsbury, where it was like McVay was dominant against Kingsbury, but Shanahan would always beat McVay. It was very much like a rock paper scissors thing where it was kind of just like a cycle of all of them
yeah,
beating each other. So I mean, who knows? Like it could just be, maybe Sean McVay just knows everything inside of the brain of Liam Cohen or vice versa. So I do think it'll be interesting to see how these two coaches do match up against each other.
yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we got one pick in. Let's go to the wheel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
All right. I'm on the Saints plus 4.5. They are on the road, I believe, at Chicago. Um, I think these are two awful secondaries that are going against each other. I think that this could be maybe a little bit of an overfest, and um, I do think it'll be fun to watch, just simply for the fact that it's Spencer Rattler versus Caleb Williams, and of course Caleb Williams ousted Spencer Rattler from Oklahoma. So I'd kind of like to see it almost be like a Baker Mayfield versus Pat Mahomes, Oklahoma Texas Tech type deal, where the two of them. I mean, I could just see both of them. Spencer Rattler's been a pretty solid quarterback this year. I mean, the stats aren't necessarily there. But I think it's one of those where if you're watching these Saints games, you can see that he's playing really well, despite like a pretty bad O line. He's making good use of his receivers with Olave and Rashid Shaheed. Maybe they haven't quite been connecting on the touchdowns yet, but I do think those can come. I think it's a pretty good matchup when you're looking at the weaknesses of the defense and how that lines up with the strengths of the offenses. It's a good matchup for Cole Kmet and DeAndre Swift on the Bears side, but then I see on the Saints side, it's a good matchup for Alvin Kamara and Chris Olave. So if we're going to lean on a pairing of players from either side, I'd much rather want to take the team that has Kamara and Olave in good matchups and is also getting the points. I'm just not quite sold on, Caleb Williams. And, I think Ben Johnson is a good coach. I think if you're watching the games, you can see that the scheme is clearly there. But Caleb Williams, he is, he's just so up and down. And I think I was saying this, Zach, when I was on the call with Amaral and Frank last night, but it just feels like a guy like Caleb Williams. So Michael Penix, I was saying, right? He gets off to these hot starts in the first half, then it's like the opponents make the adjustment, and then Penix just hits a wall. But Caleb
Mhm.
is much more up and down throughout the whole game, so it's kind of like when you're picking like the petals off the flower, like does he love me? Does he love me not? It's like one drive he's going to go out and look like the Heisman winning quarterback that was
Yeah.
picked first overall, and then the next drive he's going to go out there and just throw something absolutely miserable and blow what could have been a really big play for them. So he's just too inconsistent for me. And I'm not totally sold. When you look at the underlying stats, he's not fully great, even though the stats on their face are looking pretty good for him. But yeah, I mean, I'm just looking at the strengths, and I know that Swift had a big week last week, but he's also another up and down guy. So yeah, just looking at the strengths versus the weaknesses on either of these teams, I'm liking the Saints getting the points.
Yeah, I like the pick a lot. I was actually that was my lean was the Saints. They didn't really. I really only had two picks that I felt strongly about that I had slated for the card. Um, but I do think I just want to make a few notes. The Bears, I would not want to be as somebody who just bet on them or just as a group we just had them. I would not want that Bears team to have to cover a 4.5 point spread. They just don't feel like a team that, um, I don't want to say not capable of doing that because it's not, a huge spread, but they're just so, like you said, Kieran, they're just so up and down, so inconsistent. DeAndre Swift is banged up with a groin injury, I think. He's been limited in practice, and it doesn't sound like he's a confident going into Friday practice. So, depending on what it looks like for his injury designation tomorrow afternoon, it could be Kyle Monangai and who knows who else behind them, or behind him, which could make Caleb and the Bears pretty one dimensional in what they can do against that Saints defense, and take away a big piece. I mean, even DJ Moore, who was lined up in the backfield for them at times, and ran the ball. He was in the hospital Monday night and stayed over into Tuesday. Didn't travel with the team back from DC, so. Um, I don't know who they're going to really be able to establish the run with in that game if Swift is not a go, or if he's 50% or 70% or whatever it's going to be. So I think that that was really the thing that had them going in the Commanders game, was DeAndre Swift. He was the kind of straw that stirred that whole offense and kind of opened things up for them down the field, with him being able to run efficiently. So I think that could be a big loss if he's not fully in.
I uh I like the pick. I mean, I think, outside of probably that Seahawks game, the Saints to me have showed a lot of moxie this year. And they've played teams tough. They've got weapons. Rattler seems to be, you know, um, even though he's not having a lot of success in the win column, I mean, he does seem to be establishing himself as a bit more of a competent QB. He's got Kamara, he's got Kendra Miller, um, Rashid Shaheed, he's got Olave, like he's got these weapons and they're hanging in there. I mean, again, I talked about it earlier with the Pats pick last week. Like, I never fully felt confident, throughout that game until it kind of got to the end. And, I was still kind of dreading a back door there because they were hanging in there. And I just don't necessarily see the Bears being a team that should be covering, 4.5. I like the Saints getting points here. I think it's a really strong pick.
Cool.
All right.
All right.
Hell of a wheel.
Wow.
Hell of a wheel.
Um, all right. I'm uh I'm going in the mud a little bit here. Both literally and figuratively. I'm taking the Browns -2.5 over the Dolphins. Weather's a big factor for me. Forecast looks awful. Uh, Lots of rain, hearing about wind, gusts potentially up 50 miles an hour plus. And this Dolphins team is not built for that. I also think that type of weather could really actually help the game plan for the Browns, force them to run it, take the pressure off Gabriel. And we've seen like teams have had a ton of success running the football against the Dolphins. So um, I think that could be really great for Quinshon Judkins. So the other thing too, like from a record standpoint, difference between Tua at home and on the road. It's drastic. On the road or neutral site, he's 13-20 straight up, 1-8 straight up in his last 9 starts. At home, he's 26-10 straight up in his career. So obviously loves being, the comfort of his own home. He's going to be on the road. He's going to be playing in terrible weather. And I think we see it all the time with the Dolphins, like just, historically. They do not play well in adverse conditions. Another just kind of interesting tidbit, this is the sixth rookie QB to face the Dolphins under Mike McDaniel. 2-3 straight up in those games. All 5 of those have come in Miami. They're obviously on the road, but had a little bit of trouble covering in those games against rookie QBs. But again, I think the weather is going to be a huge factor here. That's why I was drawn to the Browns in this case. And again, I think take some of that pressure off Gabriel to kind of be the guy, really force them to establish the run, and I think that'll actually help them too in terms of maybe slowing that game down and keeping that Dolphins offense off the field. So Browns minus 2.5 over the fence.
Yeah, I was actually on the other side. Honestly, I didn't like a ton of games on this card. I was kind of going through and uh, looking before I look at the numbers. I like to just kind of pick which team I think is gonna, win or, maybe dominate at some point too. Then I bring the numbers in and see if that kind of aligns with what I was seeing. And there really wasn't a ton. Like, a lot of the stuff I liked was bigger spreads where, I didn't love it. I was more picking like the straight up winner there. And I didn't love like, like the Chiefs. It's just like a huge number. So that's not really my type of, that's just not my type of pick. So when I was looking at these smaller spreads, I saw that and I saw the stuff about the wind and everything. I mean, it is pretty far out. But I also just kind of figured Dylan Gabriel, rookie, he's also from Hawaii, so I feel like any issue that Tua has in like the shit weather could also apply to Dylan Gabriel. It could just be a really bad game. So in that case, they have A chain, they can just throw it really short. I think maybe not having Tyreek in these less than ideal conditions could maybe actually favor them just because they're not going to be looking for those deep balls as much. But yeah, I think it's just going to be an ugly, sloppy game. So because of that, I took the underdog.
Yeah, I mean, 2 1-5 teams. I didn't really even hear about the weather necessarily. It wasn't a game that I was looking too heavily into. Um, but when it's two teams like that, you want to lean on the home team. I think it's a friendly number, being 2.5. So uh, I love the Judkins note. I think that, last week, I think Gabriel dropped back like 50, 60 times or something like that to throw a pass. And that was game script dependent or whatever. But, I think they didn't really, I think Judkins had like under 15 touches total in the game and wasn't totally efficient in those touches, and I think they're going to revert back to what was successful for them. 2, 3, 4 weeks ago with Judkins, he's shown that he can be a workhorse and kind of put that offense on his back, and I think Stefanski's going to go right back to that method when the back's against the wall, and especially with that weather. Feed the horse, feed the 21-year-old horse that you just drafted, and let him in that defense, especially Miles Garrett, kind of just wreck that game for the Dolphins. And also Tua's had some really weird press conferences the past week. He's been I don't think he's a very good leader, and he's been trying to hold teammates accountable, but in a very strange way, a way that I don't think is actually going to get through and make any differences in that locker room. I know he's saying that players aren't showing up for players only meetings, and people aren't showing up on time to these events and these things, and it's like Tua, that's kind of like you're a captain, you're been the quarterback there for 5 years or whatever. That's your culture that you've kind of been building, and um, there might just be a lack of respect and lack of belief in that locker room right now, where I think a muddy game against Miles Garrett might break that offense quicker than you might think. So yeah, it's going to be a gross one, but we've got it at the mud before, so why not?
Yeah, if they don't if they don't win too, I mean, does Mike McDaniel make it back to Miami?
Does Jalen Waddle? I've heard a lot about Jalen Waddle being traded the past day or so.
Yeah, yeah, that's
A lot of
another.
that. Been a
Yeah,
lot of that.
he's on
So
the block for sure. Yeah,
it's
so
interesting.
it does seem like a bit of a lost locker room too.
Yep. Yep. So yeah.
Both with McDaniel and then to your points about Tua, as a quote unquote leader. Yeah, I mean, walking his comments back less than 24 hours later.
Yeah, it's just weird. Just
Yeah.
bizarre vibes.
Yeah. All right, back to the wheel.
All right.
All right. I'm on the Packers. Minus 6.5 on the road going to Arizona. Um, I think it's a smash spot for the Packers. They are sitting at 3-1-1 right now. With that tie, I think they are a very good team. I think last week, especially, they showed what they're going to be for the rest of the year, which is a team that they have a lot of receivers that they spread it out to. They have that electric rookie, Matthew Golden, who they actually got the ball to last week in space and down the field. And, Josh Jacobs and Tucker Kraft are going to be their red zone guys that, when push comes to shove, when they're inside the 20, they're going to score the ball. And, the Cardinals have, it seems like they're going to have Jacoby Brissett again, which I'm not um, you know, too concerned either way if it's Kyler or Jacoby here. I think even if Kyler has playing on one foot, that might actually, I'm not sure which quarterback's better to be playing for the Packers. It sounds like he's very limited in practice and kind of off to the side with practice squad. So I just see a big number here. I know it's a big spread. I've been trying to stay away from those this year, but in a week where I didn't love the card, I kind of what Kieran was saying about how he kind of was looking at some of the bigger spreads, but then that really wasn't his style. I love the big spreads, and I didn't see too much on the card this week, and I think the Packers could put up a big number on the Cardinals. And Jacoby Brissett, good guy, I'm sure, but limited in that offense and that coaching staff with Gannon. Talk about a guy like McDaniel who might be on the chopping block. If Gannon can't turn this thing around and get something going, who knows? I don't think that his seat is cool by any means. So I think they're kind of on the same vibes as the Dolphins, where it's kind of a weird locker room. And also, Marvin Harrison is practicing. He's limited, but he also is in the concussion protocol. So who knows? If he's going to be a full go um, in this game as well. So I like the Packers, just no nonsense offense. I think they're going to be able to just punch in a lot of touchdowns and move the ball pretty easily. So like a big blowout here.
Yeah, that was actually my second pick. Um, just kind of what I was saying during my pick as well. It's a lot about the strength on weakness. So it's a really good matchup for Josh Jacobs, really good matchup for Tucker Kraft. The Cardinals have allowed the most red zone targets to opposing tight end ones. They're in the bottom 10 in terms of touchdowns allowed and yards allowed. Second most yards per game for opposing tight end ones. And then just looking at the running back matchup as well, they've allowed the 10th most touchdowns to RB1s and, 11th most yards. So, it's just an opportunity for the Packers to kind of lean on what makes them so good. And, coming off of what was a really tight game for them last week, especially as massive favorites, to kind of get themselves right. But yeah, I think the Cardinals are just in a bad spot. And, I think Gannon is at least safe for now. I think what'll at least happen is we're going to see that offensive coordinator, Drew Petzig, he's going to be the first to go, which is usually the sure sign that the head coach is eventually going to be fired as well. But I would not be surprised to see them fire the OC in the next couple weeks. And then maybe by the end of the year, if Gannon can't suddenly go on some sort of run, he'll probably be out of there as well.
Are they gonna stick with Kyler at QB?
I think they're like tied to him contractually. I don't
Yeah,
know
I
if they
mean,
have
yeah,
enough.
you're not going to go to, at least for this year, you're not going to go to Jacoby Brissett over Kyler.
No, 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 no. But I'm more just asking, like, after this year, are they moving on from him?
Yeah,
Like, are they
they
gonna,
probably can't.
you know, yeah, that's a tough. It's not really a proven winner. Um, yeah, I like the pick. I mean, I think Packers to me, continue to be a legitimate contender. The Cardinals most certainly are not. Losers of four straight. Um, I think the points you guys made in terms of like just the matchups of the Packers offense against that Cardinals defense, this does have blowout potential written all over it. So, um, I definitely feel a lot more comfortable being on the side of the Packers here and anticipating that blowout, versus hoping Jacoby Brissett can keep it within a touchdown and then, watching them lose by 30.
Yeah.
It's not really how I want to spend my Sunday. So.
If they cut Kyler after this season, they'd have to eat almost 58 mil.
Oh my God.
But the year
Gee.
after that, it's only 7 million in dead cap. So,
All right.
I'd say he's probably safe for at least one more year, and
Yeah.
then maybe after that they can have a discussion. But I mean, it's also just kind of the thing where there's just a lot of guys where, and I think it's kind of the problem with sports contracts now, where they treat it almost like a corporate ladder, right? Like you're on some sort of like accountant track to become partner or something, where it's like, all right, hey, you did this, so you're automatically qualified to make this amount. But that's how we end up with guys like Trevor Lawrence and Kyler Murray getting paid this much.
Yeah.
I think if teams would just, and it's kind of, Pablo Torre, one of the things that he uncovered was the whole collusion between team owners, where they were basically like, "Hey, what if we just stop giving guaranteed money to everybody? That's kind of gotten out of hand.
Mhm.
Look at what happened with Deshaun Watson. Like, what if we don't do that?" I have no problem with that. I don't think that that's that big of a deal. Like, I don't think it's that crazy for the owners in this league to be like, "Hey, the guaranteed contracts, if you notice that they're not really panning out with these quarterbacks, like what if
Yeah.
we just kind of put our foot down and said, hey, you're not really playing to be worth this much. We'll give you this and we'll
Yeah.
guarantee this much. And if you play up to this level, you can earn even more. But yeah, I don't think it's that weird for owners to like behind closed doors be like, hey, what if we just like chilled on that for a second? But I think Kyler Murray is just kind of in that category where he's too good to be on the bench. Like Kyler Murray, he's never going to be a backup quarterback. The moment that he's not a starter in this league, he's probably just going to retire. It's kind of like what happened to Cam Newton, right? Where
Yeah.
once it became evident that he was not going to be getting a starting job, he didn't go and sign for like 2 million bucks as a backup. No, he just said, "Fuck it." Like I'm going to sit around, and if a team needs me, they can call me and bring
Yeah.
me in. But obviously, that has not been the case, and I don't think he's officially retired, but he essentially is. So I think Kyler Murray's kind of in that same level where, he's too good to ever be a backup somewhere. You can never just like sign him to a tiny contract. So, yeah, I think it's just one of those where they got to wait it out and see if maybe his natural talent can kind of, because there's no doubt that he has, a ton of
Yeah.
natural talent. But yeah, just now I saw like, what's his name? Andrew Whitworth was arguing with fans on Twitter tonight about what he's heard about Kyler Murray being a good leader or not. And, he had like fans tweeting out like bad reps that he's had in games and shit, and he's getting triggered by that. So, I mean, it's a very toxic discussion, but
Yeah. Andrew Whitworth is, what's he doing? He's arguing with fans
he's like,
about,
well, because he said on like a podcast or something that Kyler Murray is just like not a good leader, and it was not like a knock
oh,
on him as a player at all. It's just saying as far as being like an NFL quarterback and getting the type of contract that he has, you need to be a leader in the locker room. And based on everything he's heard, that's just not what he is. So then Cardinals fans they take exception to that, and they're tweeting at him, and then he's just like he's been arguing all night with
uh,
people on Twitter.
I feel like Kyler is going to be in 2 years. He is going to be like the perfect fit for the Steelers, if that makes any sense. Tomlin's going to bring him in for like 20 mil a year. He's going to be on like a 2 year contract, and he's going to be the Steelers quarterback. Someone bookmark that, and we'll circle back in a few years when it
My
happens.
prediction's always been
That
him
feels
going to the
right to me.
Cowboys because I mean I still think that the Cowboys aren't, or Jerry Jones at least is not in love with Dak Prescott. Like it's more like
no.
he's just stuck with him and it's he's stuck in like a bad marriage. But Kyler Murray, he was a Dallas area kid and I think he's like never lost at AT&T Stadium or something. So that's always kind of been my fan fiction
I
that
could
at
see
some
Sure.
point
Jerry. I
they're
could
going to
see
pair him
Jerry
up
getting
with
a.
what?
I could see Jerry getting obsessed with that stat. The fact that he's never lost at that
Yeah, and
state.
I mean, just the fact that, he played with CeeDee Lamb and,
Yeah.
all that. They're boys from
Yeah. Yeah.
Oklahoma. Like, I could definitely see it at some point.
He's also like a Texas high school football legend.
Yeah.
I don't think he ever lost in high school like once. Like I'm pretty sure he's undefeated. He's he was sick.
All
Kind of an
right.
overrated college baseball player, though, for being honest. Because he got drafted so high because the teams just wanted, like, okay, if we're going to take him, there's the risk of him going to the NFL. So you had to reach for him because that's the whole thing with the MLB draft where you can overdraft guys and say, hey, well, we're actually going to pay you a little bit slightly less than the slot value because we reached on you. You're already
Yeah.
making more than you were going to make. But yeah, if you wanted to have any chance of keeping him from going to the NFL, you had to draft him in the first round. He was like good. But I mean, I look at like, I've seen like his college baseball highlights. I've seen his stats, and it's like okay, he had like one really good year, but I think it was a bit of a reach for him to be like the 10th overall pick or whatever he was.
I wouldn't even say his year was that good. I mean, he hit 296 with 10 home runs and 47 RBIs. I mean,
Yeah,
I and
Was he an
then
outfielder?
yeah.
um and then in Harwich in the Cape played 16 games, hit 170.
Mm.
I know it's wood, but come on.
Yeah, and like before that, like his freshman year, he didn't really play much and he didn't do shit. So it's like,
120,
he had
hit
one like really
122.
solid season and then he got drafted ninth overall.
Yeah. Yeah. Jesus. It's ridiculous. Talk about failing up.
Yeah.
Uh, all right. Well, let's should we go to the primetime wheel?
Yeah.
So we got Atlanta at Houston. I don't have the or at San Francisco. Actually, I don't have
Yep.
the number, so I'm not even gonna bother fucking saying it. Oh yeah,
I can.
Houston or San Francisco's -1.5 at home.
Yep.
We have the man Campbell -5.5, and then we have Houston at Seattle -3.
Okay. Will we get the man Campbell walk off? Nope.
We'll be making a pick. All right, hold on.
What's that line?
1.5. San Francisco's 1.5 -1.5 at home.
I feel like you didn't you say early on we may be talking about that game later on?
Yeah.
Well, it's on the wheel. Like,
No, I know, but
yeah, I mean,
I feel like you. I feel like
it's not
you
that big of a coincidence. Like,
you might have
even if it
willed
didn't
that.
get picked on the wheel, that was still a fact. It was.
You might have willed that though.
Um, I'm on the Falcons +1.5. I just like how they're playing right now. I do think they're playing some good ball, even though, like I said earlier, there is kind of an issue with Michael Penix maybe hitting a wall mid-game. I mean, that second half was definitely concerning, where he had almost no passing yards. And right, I think we went into the half needing one more Drake London reception, and it felt like we were waiting forever just to get that. But I think that's just kind of an ugly matchup. Like I was talking about with my pick, with Bowen's pick, and talking about strength on weakness and all that. There just wasn't much for either side. But one thing that I did see was, it's a good matchup for the Atlanta running back one, which is obviously Bijan Robinson. Wide receiver two, it sounds like Darnell Mooney is going to be back this week. And then Kyle Pitts could also have a pretty good matchup this week as well. So I think when we're just kind of balancing it out and then looking at where there could be maybe some advantages, I think it just lies a little bit more with Atlanta. Sure, they're on the road, but I'll take them getting the 1.5. I'm not sure what the starting quarterback situation is in San Francisco yet. I know that Kittle, he said that he is going to be back. He is going to be playing. So that will be a big boost for them. But, if it is Mac Jones, especially, like I said, I just kind of hate the vibes on that. It felt like last week was the natural ending for his run as the starter here. So, it does feel like if he is going to be the starter, it's maybe a little bit of overstaying the welcome. But at the same time, it does really sound like this Brock Purdy injury is lingering a little bit. And I messaged you guys earlier today about how I'm kind of putting him on pack watch just for this season. I mean, I don't know what it's going to turn into, but maybe it is sort of like the Mr. Irrelevant turning into a pumpkin. He already got his money, and now his luck's going to run out or something like that. But yeah, I think that just a little bit more. I do think this is a true coin flip, but I think the strengths lie a little bit more with the underdog. So I'm going to take the points here.
All right.
All right.
I'm also on the Falcons. Worst ATS record since the start of 2023 at home. Seahawks, which is one of the other primetime games,
Mm.
are the worst at 6-14. The 49ers are second at 7-14, which I found a bit surprising. they are not good at home. I think too, I mean, they're going to get Kittle back, it sounds like this week. But, I do think, just the way Mac Jones looked last week was not great. And then, on the other side of the ball, losing Fred Warner. I think now both without both Nick Bosa and Fred Warner, I mean that defense is a shell of its former self, which I think is concerning, and I think is going to force the Niners, like we saw last week, where the Bucks scored 31 points. It's going to force the Niners to have to score a ton of points, and I don't know that Mac Jones led 49er team, even with guys like McCaffrey and Kittle. I don't know that they're really capable of that. And I do like the way the Falcons look. I mean, obviously, really impressive win over the Bills. Love the way Drake looked. Great hit on Drake. Thank you, Benny. But yeah, I think that's a good looking football team that seems to be on the rise. Bijan had a great game last week as well. He's explosive. Feels like that offense, those weapons can really take advantage of just a decimated defense on the 49ers side of the ball. So I like the Falcons here.
All right.
Oh boy. Oh boy.
I feel like I can already see what's happening.
I mean, I have a prediction of what's coming.
I don't know if I'm trusting Bowen's poker face here. All
No,
right.
I'm actually I'm on the Niners. I uh, I think Kittle coming back is. I know you guys both talked about it, but I do think that is massive for a team that just got just lost Warner, who is a big leader for them. Different side of the ball, but I think replacing Warner with Kittle is some sort of just kind of cancel out. I know physically on defense it's going to be a little different look for the Niners, but I think Kyle Shanahan and that run game have not looked like a Kyle Shanahan run game to start the year. Christian McCaffrey hasn't been totally efficient on the ground. He's been getting a lot of short receptions and working it that way. But I think they kind of go back with Kittle being able to, run off tackle a little bit more and get those double teams on the outside. Because Kittle is one of the best blocking tight ends in the league, if not, the best. I think he's going to open up a lot of lanes for McCaffrey to run a more traditional formation offense. I think Kyle Shanahan that coaching staff saw what Penix in London and those Falcons are capable of doing if you give them the ball frequently and give them time to work through and get in their rhythm. So I think the Niners are going to try to hold the ball, dink and dunk down the field. They'll have Kittle running some routes, having another able body getting open with Kendrick Bourne, who showed success with Mac Jones, and Jawan Jennings, and I think they're just going to try to keep the ball out of the Falcons' hands, play their game, and hope their defense can get a turnover or two, um, and try to just squeak one out that way. It's going to be a close game. Obviously, the spread reflects that, but I do think the Niners try to just slow it down, and kind of just give it to the Falcons defense by running a more traditional offense than what they've been doing.
All right. We avoided a Costanza. Let me recap these picks. 40 international correspondent. We got Jags +3. We got the Saints +4.5. That's Kieran's pick. We got the Browns -2.5. That's my pick. Packers -6.5. That's Bowen. And then we will be on the Falcons +1.5 at San Francisco. Kieran and I on that side. Bowen was on the Niners. Those are the picks. How do we feel about 5-0?
I think we have a little bit of everything in this card. I think we have a little bit of everything. We have a big favorite, sort of big dog. Got the international vibe. It should be a good week. Good
I
week.
like it.
Yeah,
I like it. It feels a little muddy,
it does.
a little dirt
Yeah,
on it. I think it's good. I think it's a
a
good.
little bit of dirt on it.
I mean, it's like I said to you guys, I think when we were kind of celebrating our 4-1 week, but just the fact that we're at this point, right? 18 and 12. I don't even think I have to look at the record books to know that this is definitely the best position we've ever been in, really at any point in the season. I mean, I think maybe it was our first year, the three of us. I think or maybe it was our last year with Jose. I can't quite remember, Tristan, but we had a good run at one of like the quarterly prizes, but that was
Yeah,
near the
yeah,
end of the that
yep.
was near the end of the season, but even then, I don't really think that our record is really anything too pretty. But this is where like those 3-2 weeks become just even more important than they were before because now we're up to that 3-2 average, and it's like just trying to maintain that
Hmm.
and avoid those bogeys like we've discussed. And trying to stay up at the top because there are going to be teams that do have those bad weeks. So we just want to try our best to avoid those. And that's where I think our strategy really comes in and plays at its best is the fact that it is just us submitting what we feel is our best pick. And we try to remove any sort of consensus because if we're all three of us making the square pick, that's kind of what we wanted to avoid because in years past, right, Tristan, it was us trying to come to a consensus on 5 picks, which is honestly insane when you think about it. So
Yeah, yep.
yeah, I mean, I think that it's just, we saw the strategy starting to work last year, and maybe we were just missing, just by a few inches every time. But
Yeah.
it feels like we're starting to kind of figure it out and get comfortable and know what we're looking for with our picks. And of course, you got to assume that at some point we are going to have the bad weeks, but it's all about just being able to sustain them. We've definitely given ourselves a cushion, but yeah, I mean, just trying to chip away and get these 3-2 weeks, and hope that the non 3-2 weeks are the positive ones.
Well, and see, I mean, just we were kind of using the golf metaphor of like, playing par golf and, you got to capitalize on some of those birdie opportunities, which we did the last couple of weeks. And, sometimes you look at a card like this week, that maybe looks a little ugly and it's like, hey, par's good. You kind of take the par and go. So 3-2 works and, you just try and keep grinding those out. And then, like you said, and on holes where, we're not getting par, hopefully, we are hitting birdie and not going bogey or double bogey. We just got to avoid those really bad weeks. That's the
And then,
Also,
to make another sports analogy, it is very sort of baseball-like too, where we're all kind of just on our own island. And, it's not like we're chipping in and making any picks together or collabing on anything besides, the primetime games where even if all three of us agree, we do have a protocol in place. But it
yeah,
is just, everyone steps up to the plate. You just got to try and get on base however you can. And,
yeah,
and if you can't, hopefully the rest of your team can kind of pick you up.
yeah,
also, I think this is really positive stuff here. But I do want to just dip our toe into the ceiling here. 17-3 in the first quarter for circa paid out like $66,000 to like 3 or 4 entries. So if we do, have another really really good week, we're right there. Like we
yeah.
are we are truly right
Let's
there.
give ourselves something to play for in 2 weeks.
That's the whole
Yeah,
thing. I mean, if
yeah,
we go 4-1 or 5-0 this week, if if that 17-3 holds up, like we will have a shot
yeah.
the following week,
I mean,
Like,
there's 2 teams that are undefeated this year, 10-0, on the month,
yeah,
in quarter 2, but like everybody else after, like
yeah,
a 2 and 3 weeker, out of those guys above us, we're,
that's
we're
right.
right there. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? So it's gettable. It's just
yeah,
got to run our own race. Obviously, we can't control what anybody else does, but it's we're right there for the first time as a group, at least from me, definitely.
yeah.
Um, it's it's exciting. So yeah,
And, I just wanted just to put into perspective where we're at. And, knock on wood, I really hope that this is not the case, but we could go 0 and 5 and still be above 500.
Yeah,
I mean, and I really don't want to test that, but I just
yeah,
want to say, I mean, that it's more of just a statement of the type of start that we're off to. So, the
yeah.
vibes are up. We've been cruising, we've been crushing it, and
Yep.
hopefully we just keep it rolling.
Yeah, and even with a bad week, it goes to show like just how much two back-to-back big weeks like that can do, you
Oh
know?
yeah,
So yeah, this is makes it a lot more fun, that's for sure. So
Yep.
definitely,
let's
definitely.
yeah, let's keep it going.
Yeah, yeah. Word.
All right. Once again, Benny, thank you for the sheet.
Yep.
I'm gonna get back
Yep.
to the lab.
I'll be waiting.
Well, you should walk. Right now, I feel like I'm inside of. Have you ever seen the movie Let It Ride with Richard Dreyfuss?
No.
It's a great movie. It's honestly, it's a top tier gambling movie, but
Okay.
it's basically just about a guy that was just a fucking loser that's always hanging out at the track, and he hears a hot tip, wins the bet, and then just goes on like an insane run where, it was almost like Forrest Gump, everybody joining him on the run where, everybody's cheering him on. What do you got
Yeah.
next? What do you got next? So I feel like I'm kind of living inside of that, but Gianna and I, we've been, she's been very aware of the run that I've been on these past couple weeks. So we've
She's
talked
been
about it. And like I
very
said,
aware.
I mean, it's just I'm not taking it for granted. I mean, I'm celebrating, I'm, maybe
Have to.
showboating a little bit, but it's all part of just my appreciation for it because I have been doing this shit for at this point like a decade. So I know that, my bad day is gonna come, all that shit, but at the same time, I'm not gonna go through this feeling stiff and not enjoying myself while it's happening. So, I'm accepting that I'm maybe in the good old days as they're happening. This is, 86 unit night, probably the greatest gambling day of my life.
Yeah. Enjoy
I'm
it.
just having fun and I'm trying to play loose.
On the flip side of that, I made an observation at bowling tonight to because I had a very average night for myself, but I said to Matt and Jay at one point, I was like, it's not a great night when I put one in the pocket and I don't get a strike when it should have been. Like I leave like a ring and seven, and I come back and I'm pissed off. And then I'll go and I'll throw a ball that, goes across to the other side, and I do get a strike, and I still come back pissed off because I didn't throw the ball that I wanted to. And I was like, I just can't win tonight, and it like it's one of those things where I'm just like I'm really not enjoying myself tonight. So I appreciate the fact that you're taking the moment to appreciate the wins and not like you said, like not getting stiff over it, but actually just enjoying it in the moment. Because what's the Andy Bernard saying? I wish you
Yeah, it's
were.
like I wish you knew we were in the good old days when they were actually happening.
Yeah, yeah. You gotta enjoy it. So
It's very much like every dog has his day.
that's right. That's right. But all right.
All right, fellas.
Shout
Later.
out Lila B.
5-0. Yeah, shout out Lala B. It's gonna be a good night.
All
All right,
right.
I'll
We'll
see you.
see
See you.
you
Later,
later, guys.
fellas.